With the popularity of the competitive documentary, we've seen an increase in new players. However, right now I feel like we're lacking a couple things that would really help new people out. One of those things is a tier list. We haven't got any official updated ones recently, so I thought I'd make one and hopefully other people will make one. So right now I'll give you my opinion on every character in the game, starting from the worst all the way to the best. And I'm also gonna try to be a little bit faster than I was in the last tier list video. If I want to go in depth with the character, I'll just make a video on them. You can also ask in the comments below if you really want to know. Also, just so that you know, a certain person named Bowler may or may not be dropping a tier list soon, so look out for that. But with all that out the way, let's get started. Alright, so starting out, I'll say Kirby is the worst character in the game. In a meta that values Swordy so much, he just can't make it. He struggles to get in, and even when he does, he doesn't get that much. And even with all that, his killing isn't even up to par with the other low tiers. He's just bad or mid all around. Not one thing's impressive. Next is Tails. Tails is another character that many people would put as the worst. He's definitely got the worst recovery in the game, and he also struggles to kill pretty often. However, I'd say at the very least his combo game is much better than Kirby's, and I also think that his spin dash is pretty solid in neutral. But besides all that, yeah, he's pretty bad. Next up is Pit. I do think he's a tier above Tails and Kirby, but he's definitely still not a great character. However, I do believe anyone in low tier and above is still at least usable. It's still gonna be hard to win, but you can. Anyway, his recovery is super exploitable, he dies early, and he may just have the worst killing out of any character in the entire game. But I do have to say, his neutral is unironically top tier. This is pretty much what's carrying him from being a bottom tier. He just spams aerials and arrows and it just kind of works. Other than that, still pretty bad. Another character in low tier is Ness. Ness is another character that kind of gets bodied by Swordies. His combo and neutral game are both decent, but overall there's nothing really special. His kill power is pretty strong though. Dare and Bear both kill pretty well. It just comes down to if you can land them or not. To be honest, this character is pretty carried by matchup and experience. Last in low tier is Chibi Robo. He has a one playstyle that literally every chibi uses. This is because everything else he has is pretty bad. You need to land up air or else you're just not gonna win. This makes him pretty easy to play around. Just avoid his up air and you win. The only reason he's above everyone else is because that one thing he does is pretty solid. Again, another character carried by matchup and experience. Now we have our low mid tier characters. First up is Wario. He has a pretty similar problem to Chibi. He's only looking for grab. Grab combos into a lot of damage and kills. It's just that his grab range kinda sucks. This means it's relatively easy to play around and deal with. The only reason I don't have him next to Chibi is because his grab confirms are much deadlier than Chibi's, and his waft is like a guaranteed kill at 30%. The waft is actually so stupid good that it alone puts him a tier above them. Next is Yoshi. Yoshi has really solid movement, a pretty good recovery, a good combo game to back it up, but he struggles to kill. Even his smash attacks aren't killing as early as they should. Really, Yoshi's just a good character trapped in mid tier because he can't kill reliably. Just buff the kill power on Nair or even like down smash and we're good. Next, we got Ganon. He's only this high because he kills early and pretty reliably after the buff. Otherwise, this character gets comboed really hard and edge guarded really hard. I don't even think he wins any matchups, but the fact that he can just kill means matchups aren't really that big of an issue. Bad character, strong attacks. Now we have a probably controversial pick. Jigglypuff is actually better than people think. Obviously not amazing, I only put her in mid-low, but still not a low tier. She's small, so that fact can counter a couple characters. And her combo game's actually pretty insane and can either lead into an edge guard or a rest. The only thing bad about her is that she dies early. She doesn't even get comboed too hard, and her neutral isn't that bad either. She's just alright, not bad. And next we got another Pokemon. Lucario is a mixed bag. He's really hard to place because of his aura mechanic. In one hand, he's 100% the worst character in the game, but then he gets some percent and becomes one of the best. It all comes down to if you can live or not. This is probably why Zaire does so well with him. He's just good at living, so Lucario gets better. Okay, but even with all his aura, he still sort of lacks range. I just can't feel right putting him any higher than this. Next, we got Goku, a character people used to think was bad, but I think we've all came around to him. He's got a really good neutral due to Ki Blast, and he has by far one of the most broken throws in the game. The only flaws with him are that his combo game is a lot worse on floaties, and his recovery vertically is absolute dog water. But yeah, for the most part, pretty solid. And lastly in mid-low is DK. The devs actually listened and fixed him up a bit. He's still got the same playstyle revolving around grab, and it's really good. Not as broken as it used to be, but it's still very usable. His flaw is that he's big and gets comboed, but if DK can find his own grab, he can just win. Not oppressive, but a solid low mid-tier. Now we have the actual mid-tier characters, and I'll start with Bandana D. He's just a solid zoner with some pretty decent kill options. Not much more than that. He doesn't really excel at anything, and his worst flaw is that he dies early. Overall, pretty mid. I hope we get to see more representation for this character, because I think he might just have the most potential in the entire game. Next is Bomberman. He's got an alright punish game, but when you add bombs into the mix, he becomes pretty crazy. Not very many people play him, so we don't get to see that much of him, but I think he could go even higher on the list if more people pick him up. He just sort of dies off stage, and that's why I can't put him much higher. But his punish alone makes him pretty good. This next character is kinda hard to place. Mr. Game & Watch dies early and gets comboed pretty hard. Not a good combo, but his neutral is super underrated and his combos are solid too. Combine this with how early his moves are killing and he's an alright glass cannon. Again, people don't play him all that much, so I won't put him any higher, but he's still good. Now onto the weirdest character. Zelda should be a terrible character. On paper, she gets comboed super easily and she's relatively slow. She doesn't even seem to have a good combo game. But then you see her in action and it's all different. She doesn't need speed because of her up smash being broken. That thing alone is controlling neutral. And her high damage output along with Din's fire makes her combo game really threatening. Again, she's a really weird character. Seems bad, but in reality she's pretty good. Next up is Pikachu. His nerf definitely didn't affect him as much as we thought, but yeah, nerf's a nerf and people didn't have him that high to begin with. RC's still showing up and destroying people with them, so he's still usable. Pikachu is full rush down, just always overwhelming the opponent. It's kinda hard for him to be bad, honestly. He just lacks damage and kill power in a lot of different situations. But yeah, he's still good, just I don't know why he's not getting buffed. Lastly in this tier, we have Sandbag. People used to have this guy as bottom 1, and looking back on it, it's really funny. In my opinion, he has top 1 punish game potential, and no matter what character you're playing against, he just destroys you. His biggest problem is his recovery and maybe neutral, but I don't even think it's that bad. Plus, now we have actual people labbing this character out, and the character's becoming a huge threat. Already we have top players talking about how they don't want to run into Nia because his punish game's so broken. Now we're in the high-low tier. This is where I'd say the characters are in healthy spots in the game. I could definitely see anybody here winning a tournament. Well, first up is Bowser. He does so much damage so quickly, and he also has a stupid amount of kill confirms that aren't necessarily that hard to set up. His problem though is that he gets camped out really hard. I'd even say it's harder than just about every character in the game. So if your opponent's willing to do that, there just isn't much Bowser can do. But even with that being said, his punish is still super broken, so one misplay and Bowser will take your stock. Next up is Ice Climbers, I mean Luffy. Without his air wobble, he would probably be a mid-tier character. His punish is pretty good, but his recovery and neutral leave a little bit to be desired. However, you add the Luffy ladder into the mix and he becomes a lot better. Don't know what else to say about him, he just has a stupid kill option which makes him go from good to really good. The next character I'd say is Sonic. Sonic's incredibly fast, obviously, allowing him to do whatever he wants. He could be a rushdown or a zoner if he wants. He also has an okay punish game that doesn't do too much damage, but it perfectly sets up for gimps off stage. In general, I'd say he benefits more as being a counterpick character than an actual main. Against some characters, he just ends up killing them at 30%. And against characters you can't edgeguard, you get to see how he's just a solid character. Really good at gimping, but killing not so much. Luigi is my next pick. I don't have much to say about him. He has a zoning option in Fireball, he's got a deadly combo game, he's got really good kill power, he's hard to edgeguard. He has everything going for him, but he's just sort of lacking something that would really make him stand out. He's just well designed. I like how he is right now. Really good, but not really good. Next, I'm finally comfortable saying Mega Man is a high tier. Well, low high, but you know what I mean. He's always had a top 3 zoning game, which by itself allowed him to go far. But this new tech was bigger than I imagined it would be. Watching Piano, I already see him using it in neutral for safety, and Mega Buster offstage is way better than I thought it'd be. He's honestly just more of a threat in more situations than he used to be. His flaw though is that when you actually get him in disadvantage, he's really not that good. Even offstage, his recovery is super exploitable, but the question is, can you even get in? Easily my next pick is Mario. Mostly everything's good about him. His combo game isn't broken, but it's good. He's actually an amazing killer, having bair, fair, up smash, down smash. His bair is huge and allows him to space well. And lastly, his fireballs are top 5 projectiles in the game. His biggest weakness is his range, and in a swordy meta, that's an unfortunate problem. Luckily, fireballs allow him to cope with that a little bit, but overall he's really good, and I could definitely see him getting better if they touch down the swordies a little bit. Next up is Waluigi. He's in an interesting spot. He's fell from what people used to see him as. He's definitely got some really good tools. Dash attack is amazing as always. Up air is a deadly spike and sets up for tech chase situations. Dice can be one of the most scary moves in the entire game. But over time, people found out that you're just able to DI out of a lot of his stuff. He also really struggles to kill without a random attack. Personally, I think he's just kind of carried by being annoying to fight against. Next, Simon. I'd say he's really good, but nothing amazing. He's a lot more combo based than his ultimate counterpart. His projectiles are actually used to start combos rather than keep out. This gives him a really good neutral and combo game. However, his killing is just inconsistent. Either he destroys you, finishing a combo into a kill, or his opponent ends up living forever because he missed his kill confirm range. Oh yeah, and his recovery is pretty bad. Now is the newly buffed Meta Knight. He improved drastically just because of his range, to be honest. He's got a solid combo game, solid killing, amazing edge guarding, and he's also a small character. He's just got a lot going for him. He just lost a lot of his broken kill power, leaving him really well designed compared to his old self. Next, Pichu. Small, plus fast, plus combo, plus kill power, plus ratio. This character's good. His major weakness is the fact that he damages himself, meaning he's dying only after a few hits. He's the ultimate glass cannon, and he's always a potential threat no matter the matchup. The next character is Naruto. He can zone with his clones, he can approach with moderate speed, and once he gets a hit, his combo game is pretty deadly. Stuff like his Rasengan is killing extremely early. I just think he's another classic example of really good but super edge guardable. Not much more to say than that. Last but not least is Peach. She's definitely one of the stronger characters in the game. She does a ton of damage and has good combos on top of that. Her slow speed is made up by having a projectile and turnips that are easily spammed to force approaches. However, if your opponent is too fast, Peach kinda just ends up getting ran over. She also suffers from dying really early, making some matchups really bad for her. But when your opponent is forced to play her game, there's very little they can do. Now we've made it to the high tiers. Everyone from here on out is amazing and without a doubt a tournament contending character. First up, I'm gonna say was the hardest to rank. Pac-Man used to be obviously a top 10 character at least, but after being able to deal with his projectiles easier, I'm not too sure how good he still is. He's just oppressive from like 20 miles away. His aerials aren't even that bad, so if you get in on him, he's far from screwed. His recovery is also uncontestable. He has everything going for him, but I wish we could just see someone put it all together and be an annoyance to the entire community. Next is Black Mage, another really hard character to rank. We all knew he had the stuff to be broken, but we haven't really seen it till recently. Stop is really good and makes Black Mage's neutral so much better than it is, even though he has short moves. Edge guarding from him is also super good since his bair sends really far at basically any percent. His recovery is supposed to be his flaw, but he has so many mix-ups that calling it bad would just be ridiculous. He's just a little lacking in the combo area and gets very little damage after every interaction. He's basically the neutral god. I'd say next up is Marth. He has insane range and a combo game that lasts for a year. And with his new kill power, he's easily a top 10 character. But that's in a perfect world. Marth is definitely the most inconsistent character. Sometimes he's destroying you, and sometimes he just can't land a tipper and you take a huge advantage. I just think he's not as high as everyone else because he's not always amazing. Oh yeah, and his recovery is awful. Next is Samus. She's got a wild neutral due to her projectiles and her Zair. It's oppressive to fight against from anywhere on the stage. Her kill power is pretty insane too. Having the ability to combo into charge shot in multiple ways is really good for her to have. And her Bair and Nair aren't that bad either. Even with all of this, her combos are solid too. She's got everything except for the fact that she's floaty. Being big, floaty, and solo means that she just kind of gets blown up by rushdown characters, but that's about it. Next up is a character who's gotten a lot more respect recently. Sora is actually getting better and better the more I'm looking into him. He's got combos like Bayonetta and they often lead into a kill. Speaking of killing, he's got no problems doing that. So many moves are killing with these. And his recovery may be lacking, but in the right situations, it's also impossible to edgeguard. His biggest problem is that a lot of his combos come down to DI reads and reactions. He's hard to play well, but if you do end up learning him, he can be an absolute monster. Next is my old number one. Sheik has fallen a little after her short hop change. She's still got amazing kill confirms and combos, but since her short hop is so big, approaching is just not something she can do. She's still the same powerhouse that she used to be, but her playstyle just got neutered. Now after Sheik is Rayman. His neutral game is downright broken. He has just about no end lag on any of his moves, and they each have really big priority over a lot of other moves. And when the time comes, Tornado is really easy to spam and it's also hard to punish. Even with this neutral, his punish happens to be pretty solid too. Not much of a straight up killer, but sets up for edge guards and does a whole lot of damage. I would say killing might be his problem, but since Tornado's so easy to land, it's really not that big of an issue. He's a really good character with little struggles besides not being able to straight up kill all the time. Next up is Ryu. Even after the nerfs, his kill confirms like up air Shiryu still work, so I'd like to think he's still really good. He deals a lot of damage for having such a good combo game, and it often leads into kills as early as 80% due to his Shiryu. His neutral you would think would be bad, but his Shokunetsu, along with the pressure his forward air does on shield, makes it not too bad. He's a huge threat whenever he opens you up, and maybe his only problem is his recovery. Last in high tier is ZSS. Her punish is really good, and it either ends up ending with a lot of percent or even a kill. She controls neutral pretty easily since her neutral air is gigantic. Her recovery is super good too, and if she has a jump, you're almost never edge guarding her. Her kill power isn't lacking either. Her Bair and Fair are easily comboed into and deal a lot of damage. My biggest flaw about her is that she's inconsistent pretty often. Her multi-hit moves like forward air and up special are often fallen out of, and moves like Bair and down B are very precise to land. Other than that, she's crazy in every way. Now with that out the way, we have entered into the top tiers. These characters have a lot of things that put them over the rest of the characters. The first top tier I have is Falcon. His recovery is pretty bad and he gets edge guarded pretty hard, but his punish is one of, if not the best in the entire game. He can often one-touch almost every character in the game. No matter anything, the matchup, the stage, your down 4 stocks, Falcon can win. I'm starting to value this so much. Not many characters can just win. It's not even that hard to pull off. A simple nair mid-stage at 60% can lead into a knee that will kill. His speed allows him to win neutral a lot more often than some other characters, and often can invalidate some of those characters. He's a character with weaknesses, but also some extreme strength. Next is Isaac. I completely forgot how good this character was ever since Isaac players quit, but now that they're back, I completely get it. First off, he can camp forever and it's not even an issue for him. His projectiles are huge and you can't really just avoid them since he can control them. And on top of that, he's got range even without his projectiles since he's got a sword. And on top of all that, his combo game's pretty good. He doesn't even struggle to kill, he actually kills pretty early due to his up air. His recovery is also amazing since his hand just covers it. His only problem is that he's light and very comboable, so he can just die early in bad situations. But overall, this character is amazing. Plus, he's annoying so he can just beat impatient people. Next is Ichigo. He's got huge moves that require little placing to land. These moves also lead into combos that don't often net Ichi a kill, but they do a lot of damage. He's got edge guarding down, and he's probably the best ledge trapper in the entire game. He has really good and tricky movement to make up for his speed, and his kill power is definitely there, whether it's up throw up air, back air, or even a random F smash off of a read. His simplicity and his consistency make him a threat against every single character in the cast. Even his recovery is tricky to edgeguard. He has almost everything you could ask for in a character. He may even be the easiest character to combo across the board. Other than that, he's just a wall of pain. Now we've gotten to the top 5. I believe that Crystal is up next. Honestly, it might be due to the lack of representation that makes me put her here. She has a really good punish game that deals a ton of damage and easily sets up for kills in her up air, down air, and sniper. Speaking of sniper, that thing makes her edge guarding really good. It's a non-commitment that if it lands, they're either dead or caught without a jump. She's also a pretty fast character, especially with her side Bs on plats. Combining that with grenade, her neutral's really good too. Everything offensive wise, she has and she excels in. The only reason I don't want to put her anywhere above this is because her recovery is awful. And it's not just kinda bad, it's really bad. This recovery is what keeps her from being any higher, but again, she might just outpunish you before that even matters. Number 4, I'd say, is Falco. His nerfs, I would say, were enough to take him down from 1st or 2nd all the way down to 4th. Not too much of a change, but still made him worse. He misses more confirms now, and his combo game's a bit worse. The nerf also affected his recovery a bit. However, even with all this, he still controls neutral better than almost every character in the entire game, and his combo game is far from gone. He's still a monster who has actually everything in the game, it's just a little bit worse now. The 3rd best character in the game is Lloyd. I have almost nothing negative to say about him. He's easy, he's consistent, he has a range, he has kill power, he has a combo game. He has it all. I just don't think it's as good as the 2 people ahead of him. He's not exactly killing extremely early or anything, and his recovery is definitely exploitable. Yeah, he's just amazing, but not as amazing as the other 2. Well, now we're down to the final 2 characters, and I could definitely see them being interchangeable, and I actually don't care who you think's better. Put either or on top, I'm fine with that. But I personally am gonna put Link above Fox. Just like Lloyd, these guys excel in every part of the game. Both are killing with relative ease and both are oppressive in their own ways. Link as a zoner, Fox as a rushdown. I only put Link above Fox because he's much more consistent. Link's A game is pretty close to his B and C game. While if Fox isn't playing well, he's really exploitable. Fox just requires so much more to play well, and in tournament when you're nervous and making mistakes, Link takes the cake. And yeah, that's everyone. Things obviously can change, but I'd say this is a nice rough outline of where a character should go. And at the very least, you can think of this as unordered and it's perfect in my eyes. I really want to see more people make tier lists. It sparks discussions and it helps out the new players. But yeah, that's all I have to say about this list. It was fun to make and I'm happy you guys watched. Have a good day and peace out.